Well, I wanted to just briefly discuss this in light of our overall budget situation.
Good idea.
Yeah. I don't really need a staff report. I mean, we've discussed this item several times in the past. I think that we've recognized as a council collectively that even 450 is probably too low of a number to adequately meet our tree trimming needs. I think we also had a staff report recently from the city forester indicating that there are trees in the vicinity of various schools that are potentially at, I think he classified it as sort of low to moderate risk of falling and possibly hitting people. And I think we're generally aware of other incidents in the city that have caused damage, which is why, despite a tight budget, we increased it from 350 to 450 in our most recent discussions. But now that we have seen Measure PF fail, now that we have a pretty uncertain budget situation looking forward, I feel like it's worth having a brief discussion about that, right? You know, I have mixed feelings. I mean, I think I was actually the council member that requested that city staff look at the trees around the schools when one fell recently, kind of right smack on top of the main loading and unloading area for one of the elementary schools. So I'm reluctant to reduce this, but I also am cognizant of a very uncertain budget year ahead of us.
Or two.
So, yeah.
Well, I actually feel that our budget year because we approved 450 for fiscal year 26, 27. What year is this? Yes,
Right.
26, 27.
Right.
So our approved budget doesn't actually change right now
It's
for
our
26,
reserves.
27. And while I think yours is an important comment, I think that when the day comes, if we felt like we needed to make changes, then we should look at the budget holistically and look at it and not try to pick pieces off one by one. So I appreciate your comment, but I think for now, we can stay pat with the 450 and we can always adjust later, but I think we're okay at the 450 now, is my
Yeah, and I think this is a not to exceed number, right? So we could, to your point, we
We
could
can always dial it back.
we could come in 6 months and say we're on a bad trajectory. We've lost in November or something like that,
Well,
and you know, we need to cut back, and maybe there's half of the money still left or something. But yeah,
I'm going to take a little bit different position because I think we have a fiduciary responsibility. And the fiduciary responsibility I'm referring to is we are spending more than we're bringing in. We can't do that anymore. We've got to stop that. And I am going to be adamant about matching expenses to revenues and not exceeding expenses over revenues. And I don't think we should be sending the message to Travers or to anyone else that we are going to be willing to even accept $350,000, let alone $450,000 as we go forward, because we can't afford it. And I think what we're going to need to do is ratchet this thing back to, I'm going to call it $150,000 for emergency-only properties, because we do not have the funds. We have no guarantee that we're going to have any funds come in any election in November. That's at high risk. And every dollar that we spend from this moment forward is closer to our demise.
Well, David actually makes a fair point, and I would actually support a future agenda item that talks about taking the whole $1.7 million budget deficit that we approved a couple weeks ago and taking that back down to a balanced budget.
Well, that was
you're
going
gonna do it, then do that.
That was going to come later in the meeting tonight when future agenda items, which I wanted to. I think we have to revisit the budget immediately. We can no longer go forward with what we approved at the last meeting. How we get there, I agree with Councilmember Lozey. We need to look at the entire menu, and it's not just tree trimming. It's weed abatement. It's slurring streets. It's you name it. We've got that problem.
What was the agenda?
You guys just agreed with each other. We are on the right road.
There's a new day, Michael, there's a new day.
So I would echo a lot of those comments in terms of not having the revenue source that we had hoped that we were going to have, that we were hopeful that we were going to pass. So until that revenue shows up in real dollars, or at least from a pledge from the residents, like Victoria mentioned and David, getting down to a balanced budget is critical. It's fiduciary responsibility. And we don't have the luxury to spend money we don't have. So we are in a very, very dire situation. So I
What
would,
this is going to, excuse me, but what this is going to mean is a reduction of services between now and whenever we can get a measure passed that will increase our revenue. Because right now, we cannot move forward overspending.
So I'm going to jump in and say that I agree with your thoughts in general, but I want to caution one piece here. I agree with looking at the whole thing, and so we have to understand the impact of these multiple agreements and how that affects the budget. Two is, I don't want to give the public the impression that anyone's being penalized because PF wasn't passed. I'm just going to go there, right? The idea is not, well, PF didn't pass, so we're going to go, cut the crap out of the budget. That's not the point. The point is we need to be fiscally conservative and responsible with what's on the table as a result of that decision while we reform going forward and repaint that picture. That's our fiduciary responsibility, and that's the mature thing to do. So I don't want anyone to get the feeling like anyone is attempting to penalize, and that the idea simply is we need to look at the overall budget and figure out how to make that work as best we can as the map changes.